Today I'm going to talk about the Greek tragic play structure and how you can use it to write your own plays. Today's lesson is going to talk about the Oedipus cycle, the well-made play structure versus the Greek play structure, and key elements in a Greek tragedy. Let's go ahead and knock out this Oedipus cycle, shall we? The Oedipus cycle is potentially the best known play cycle ever because it is the longest surviving play cycle. This play was written in ancient Greece by a man named Sophocles. Sophocles is known as our first published playwright that has surviving works still today. This cycle goes through three main plays, first being Oedipus the King. This play talks about Oedipus's reign in Thebes and how he has a demise and has to banish himself. The second play is Oedipus at Colonus, and this takes place way after the banishment of Oedipus, when some Theban citizens come to find him to solve another issue in Thebes. Finally, this cycle ends with Antigone, which is discussing the daughter of Oedipus. This shows a tragic flaw that has lasted well beyond Oedipus's demise. Now, this play cycle is actually called the Theban cycle today because the plays actually deal more with the Oedipus complex and how it affects Thebes more so than how Oedipus is in all of the plays. So if you hear people calling it the Theban cycle, that is technically the correct name for it, but you are more than welcome to call it the Oedipus cycle if it makes you so happy. Now let's go ahead and talk about well-made play structure versus Greek play structure. Well-made play structure looks a lot like well-made novel structures, where we have exposition, a rising action, a climax, a folding action, and a denouement. Now, as you can see, the exposition is known as background. The rising action is known as all of the plot points in the play. The climax is the turning point in the play. The falling action is the resetting of the status quo, and the denouement is the new status quo. In Greek plays, this surfaces as the following. The exposition surfaces as prologue or parados. This is the background or the chorus song that tells you how the chorus feels about what is going on in the play. Now, in normal modern plays, exposition doesn't always occur in the form of someone telling you, but in a Greek play, this always is told as a prologue. Next, we have the episode. This is your rising action in a modern play. Now, the episode is all the plot points that relate directly to your tragic hero. If you can't figure out how the plot point relates to your tragic hero, you've probably either picked the wrong tragic hero or the wrong plot point to follow. Next, we have, as we saw before, the climax. This is where the tragic hero encounters the tragic flaw. Now, this happens in both forms in the same way, and it causes a turning point. Now, as we saw earlier, you have a falling action, but this is called a statisma in the Greek play. This is when a choral ode is sung to end an episode, and then start an exodus, which is the new normal. And in a Greek play, you end with catharsis, which is the purging of the sin that was established as a problem in the play. Now, catharsis only happens when someone purges the sin and turns away and moves forward. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and talk about key elements in Greek plays. The first big element in a Greek play is the tragic hero. A tragic hero is a famous person that everyone knows about. Everyone knows the story, and everyone knows that they have a tragic flaw. Now, this tragic flaw must always be present from the very beginning, and you have to be able to track it all the way to the end and see how they turn away from it in order to have a good tragic flaw. Next, we have the chorus. The chorus speaks as the audience's voice of reason and make sure to share their internal thoughts to the audience. This is one of the key ways a modern audience can connect to the text because the chorus member speaks the mind of what people are thinking. So this is a key component to writing a new Greek play. Next, we have messengers. Messengers are usually people who tell the violence from off stage and they also tell the hero how to solve their own problem. Next, you have the climax, which we just talked about, but just to clarify, it is a moment when the hero has to face the tragic flaw, and it causes the hero to repent, thus causing catharsis, which is the purging of the tragic flaw, creating a denouement, which is the new normal. Okay? Now let's go ahead and look at this through Oedipus's eyes so you can see how it works in a Greek play. Obviously, our tragic hero is Oedipus, and his tragic flaw is hubris, or what we call pride. Next, we have the chorus. This is our townspeople. They constantly are speaking to us about the suffering from the plague and how it needs to be purged from their city, and they would do anything to get rid of it. Okay? Next, we have the messengers. For this to work, we need to have people who are actually messengers, which is stated in the play. We also use Tiresias for this. Now, the messengers in the play are often telling us about the dangers and the punishments and the torture that is seen off stage. Tiresias actually brings on stage and talks about the hubris of Oedipus before the people. Now, although Oedipus doesn't see this as his flaw at that point, Tiresias points it out to everyone. This is key to any Greek play that you write. You must have messengers that are willing to point out the truth to your tragic hero, even if they're not willing to hear it. Next, we have Oedipus's climax, where he finds out that he caused the plague by killing Laius. Now, this is also very tragic because he has fulfilled fate's law for him, which was he would kill his father and marry his mother. Finally, we see catharsis, when Oedipus plucks out his own eyes and banishes himself in order to purge the city. Now, I want to encourage you to try to write your own Greek play. In order to do this, I want to encourage you to find a well-known tragic hero. Now, this can be anyone that everyone recognizes as a well-known person, such as John F. Kennedy, Theodore Roosevelt, or even like a woman, like Princess Diana. But you have to remember that it can't be someone too close to today because you haven't seen their ending yet, so you don't know how their tragic flaw reacts to every statement within their story. Now, once you pick your character, you have to pick their tragic flaw. This flaw can be tracked through every decision they make, so make sure that if you pick something, it follows through the entire plot line of your play. Sorry about that. Finally, I want you to write your play according to the well-made play structure or the Greek play structure in order to show how the new status quo or the catharsis is reached for this person. Finally, I want you to share your work. Next week, we'll go through all these plays and we'll talk about how they show the structure and if they worked or didn't work. But I also want you to remember that you can email me or comment below with any questions that you have in order to talk about the play. Enjoy writing, guys, and see you next week.